Yeah. He's not allowed to go in though, you know,
I know that. About a year.
Got busted. Poor guy. Bad enough being who he is and he has to stand outside.
Okay, hello everybody. Just an order of how we're going to go about our first thing for this evening is a public hearing on a bylaw. I'll call that to order in a second. Just for your knowledge, we have a regular meeting starting at 7. We did convene the meeting earlier today and went straight to an in-camera session that we had so that we didn't have to deal with the in-camera at 11 o'clock tonight. So just so you know, when I reconvene to a regular meeting, it's because we called it to order so that we go in camera. Just so everybody knows that. Great. So I'd like to call to order this public hearing. The purpose of the public hearing is to amend the official community plan bylaw number 2564 to remove a proposed collector road from the official community plan Schedule D transportation plan. And if I may, public hearing is being convened pursuant to Section 890 of the Local Government Act in order to consider proposed bylaw 2564. At this public hearing, any person present who believes that their interest in property is affected by the proposed bylaw shall be given an opportunity to be heard on the matters contained in the proposed bylaw. However, it is important that all who speak at this meeting restrict their remarks to matters contained in the bylaw. It is my responsibility as chair of this meeting to ensure all remarks are so restricted. Those of you who wish to speak concerning this proposed bylaw should, at the appropriate time, commence your address to council by clearly stating your name and address. Then you may give us the benefit of your views concerning the proposed bylaw. Members of council may, if they so wish, ask questions of you following your presentation. However, the main function of council members this evening is to listen to the views of the public. It is not the function of council at this public hearing to debate the merits of the proposed bylaw with individual citizens. Everyone who deems their interest in property to be affected shall be given the opportunity to be heard at this meeting. No one will be or should feel discouraged or prevented from making their views known. After this public hearing has concluded, the council may, without further notice, give whatever effect council believes proper to the representations made at this hearing. During the course of a public hearing, people sometimes tend to become too enthusiastic or emotional. Regardless of whether you favor or oppose any particular application or argument, please refrain from applause or other expressions of emotion. Restraint enables others whose views may or may not coincide with your own to exercise their right to express their views, and enables all views expressed to be heard in as impartial a forum as possible. I'll ask Ms. Butler.
I will pass that honor on to our executive assistant.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Your Worship, the notice was published in the April 3rd and 10th, 2014 editions of the Rossland News and posted on the City Bulletin Board and website since March 25th, 2014. The Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure and owners and residents within 100 meters were notified of the proposed bylaw amendment as required by the City Bylaw and the Local Government Act. The City has not received any written submissions regarding this application.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone present that wishes to address council regarding bylaw 2564? Second time, is there anyone present that wishes to address council regarding bylaw 2564?
I'd like to hear the specifics of the bylaw.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just come forward, please, your name and address?
My name's Darren Chicolas, 4700 Highway 3B. I'd like to see a printed version of the bylaw. I couldn't find it on the website.
I have one right here, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Is that what you need?
I guess I need Schedule D. I did see this part. Whatever Schedule D is.
Schedule D is on the map?
Or just the picture? Okay.
The map.
Okay, good enough.
Thank you. Anyone else that wishes to address the public hearing? Seeing none, I will adjourn the public hearing. Thank you very much. Moving right along. I will reconvene the regular meeting of council. First item on the agenda after reconvening is public input period. If anyone wishes to address council with 2 minutes of your valuable time, please come forward, and council is prepared to listen to any input that you have on any matter that you have. Please come forward, say your name and address. Thank you.
Oh,
It's me again, Laura Pettis, 2395 Thompson Avenue. I was just curious, after the public consultation, whether anything had changed in the financial plan. One thing in particular, the Esling Park Lodge issue is always confusing at best. And when I was at the committee at the whole meeting that was discussing that, I thought that the recommendation was to have them pay some money toward the interest that could be earned on the loan. And I'm looking at the agenda, and it's kind of resolved that council approves. Is this already a done deal, or?
We're discussing that this evening.
Okay,
That's on
well,
our agenda, if you got the full,
okay, I just don't
package.
understand the resolve that.
We haven't made the motion yet, that's just the staff recommendation. We're dealing with that later this evening.
Okay, well, I'm hoping that council sticks with getting in a little bit of revenue since groups have been cut in the community, and there is a possibility there. I still didn't hear what was in the pool reserve fund. Maybe.
Well, we're not gonna,
Okay,
we can
I'm
send you
just
I'm not
saying
getting-
that.
This is public input period.
That's fine, that's, I know, not engagement, sorry. And I was a little surprised that the financial plan was being asked to have 3 readings tonight. I didn't know there was a hurry. I know in May it has to be passed, but if there are 2 readings, there's still opportunity for more public input, my understanding, if needed by anybody. Other than that, I'm just gonna tell you that we had a big work party at the tennis courts, and the nets are up, they're open, and if you wanna put our reserve money back into the plan, we'd appreciate it.
Thank you very
That's
much.
all.
Anyone else that wishes to address council at public input period? Please come forward, state your name, thank you.
Sorry, Mayor, is it 2 or 3 minutes?
3.
3.
I have to be consistent with Ms. Pettit.
All right. I'm Lee Harrison, 1008 Otis Way. I know I've sent all of you an email earlier in the week because I thought that would be hopefully it would be some assistance to you, because I was involved in the restructuring of Esling Park when the life lease concept failed. And well, in respect to the 3 minutes, because I can hardly, I'm long-winded, but the high points, or the points I want to reiterate with all of you is this. Esling Park was never developed to be low-cost, subsidized housing for anyone. That's just not the case. And looking around, I don't see any violent shaking of the heads to the contrary, so I hope that that's a clearly accepted concept. It was an odd idea, perhaps in retrospect, that the city would get involved in financing upmarket units for the well-to-do, but that's all set out in my in the email I sent you. And it's true, at the time we didn't have the plethora of luxury condos that and the other point, of course, that makes it a bit more understandable in retrospect is that initially the city donated, the sole contribution was land it donated, which wasn't in use, so it wasn't meant to be a there was not meant in the initial concept to be a financial contribution from the city. The city's contribution came along only when the foundation problems were discovered, and the 23 life lease people, or however many of them had committed at that point, weren't going to come up with any more, and the mortgaging made it possible. So if it was going to go ahead, the city came up with $450,000. And that's a decision that was, in a sense, forced on the city by this unfortunate discovery of the foundation problems, a problem that would have been for the builder to have dealt with himself had it been a private enterprise kind of thing. Now, life leases failed all over the province, and the one good thing about Esling Park is that it failed in time before the government got overwhelmed with them. And I think the agreement that was negotiated was a good one, in that it saved 50% of the capital that the original owners had contributed. But they basically lost $30,000 to $40,000 each, all of the people who put that in there. Having sacrificed that capital, however, those people got to go on living at the rents they'd been paying, which were in the order of $600, $650, $800, and the rents tended towards that upper level even then, even with people having put in $75,000 worth of capital. So it may not have been unreasonable for people to go on paying the same rent when they'd lost half their capital and had financed it. But the people who've gone in there since have gone in at those same low rents, which is, I hope my paper or my email persuasively states out, is dramatically less than fair market commercial rent. These are big units. They get up as big almost as 1,200 square feet. They're well furnished. The original people who went in there, perhaps a minor problem was that they had a lot to say about those units being developed in that way. If the city wants to, I think the society has gone ahead and taken, and even knowing that they had interest to pay starting in 2014, they may have gone in and been filling in these units with people who might not pay market rents, which is unfortunate. But the society knew that they had this 2014 deadline to start paying interest. When I was speaking to the deputy administrator in terms of getting my email in the package, she said to me, well, we can't dictate what the society does. That in a way is true, but neither can the society, through its actions or failure to act over the last few years, knowing they had this deadline. Neither can they dictate to the city that you can't get interest that they contracted to pay in 2014 because of the way they've conducted things. If just $100 rent increase average per unit, which would still in my view, put these markets dramatically less than fair market value, would generate $27,000 a year, which I understand the city could use in terms of the many the grant applicants who've come here and either gotten less or nothing in terms of what they ask. And it's all for council what they do with 27. I mean, that's just a minimum kind of figure in my respectful view. If the society has, despite knowing they had this deadline, if they've painted themselves into a corner, I suppose in my hard-hearted way I could think of a 2 or 3 year window to bring things up to speed, have new tenants come in paying market rents, and get to where they can be paying interest on these sums. But this project was never meant to be subsidized housing. If this council wants it to be subsidized housing, then say so. Then confront that issue head on and say so that we can understand what you're doing. I think, as an ex-lawyer, I can talk for a long time, but unless you have any, I'd be happy to answer any questions if I'm allowed.
This is, public input period is really not for an exchange, but I will tell you that we've all read your email. We appreciate your input, and we'll be dealing with it later. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Anyone else that wishes to address council at the public input period? Okay, seeing none, moving right along. Motion to adopt the agenda with the deletion of, please, the number?
The deletion of 6A, parking reserved for Columbia Avenue.
And the addition of the letter that we were handed, and that's it for the public. That would be in the consent calendar, item
9M.
9M, and this is the letter to the regional district regarding the current regional sewer service.
You can delete that? 9M?
No, we're adding that.
Oh,
adding an M. Okay? With those two changes.
And Your Worship, we will also be circulating a new Schedule A for the ninth financial plan bylaw.
Okay, but that remains on the agenda. Okay, so on those changes, motion by Moore, seconded by Thatcher. discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Adoption of the minutes. Motion that the minutes of the regular meeting of council on March 24th and 14 be adopted. Is there a mover for that? Moved by Fisher, seconded by Moore. Discussion on those minutes? Seeing none. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. The minutes of the public consultation of the 2014-18 financial plan held on April 2nd be adopted. Moved by Wallace, seconded by Moore. Discussion on those? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. The minutes of the committee of the whole meeting held on April 7th and 14 be adopted and the recommendations within approved. Moved by Fisher, seconded by Thatcher. Discussion on those? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. Petitions and delegations. I know we kept you waiting a long time, but Amy Ambrasolon and Mr. Muth, please come forward from, or yeah, Neil, you can just sit there probably. So Amy, come forward and
Sure. Where's best for me to stand, Mayor?
if you had a chair, you could sit right there. That'd be great.
I will steal this one.
We got that.
Fair enough.
What's that?
They need you this morning, right?
Yeah, and then hit the button on the.
I need to hit the button?
Yeah, are you gonna stand and do your thing, or sit and do your thing?
Well, it's like you know I make hand gestures, Tracy. I'll stand and do my thing. Is that okay? Is that
That's
all
good.
right?
You'll just have to do that.
And then,
Okay.
Lady person.
perfect.
Am I with the lights?
Thanks, Tracy.
And if you don't mind, we'll just.
Thank you. So, good evening, Mayor and Council, and member of the public. My name is Amy Ambrosoni. I work for Columbia Basin Broadband Corporation, which really means I work for Columbia Basin Trust. Columbia Basin Broadband is a wholly owned subsidiary of Columbia Basin Trust. I've been with CBT for about 13 years, and I'm based in our Castlegar office. And my role with CBBC is to help oversee that initiative and try to help make broadband development a reality in communities in the region. I think Council's had quite a bit of background on CBBC in the past, so I won't spend a lot of time on this. This first bullet is just the Columbia Basin Broadband Corporation mission statement. We're trying to bring better connectivity to this region, a rural region that is not seeing significant improvements in connectivity as a result of the large telecommunications company focusing really on larger urban markets and bringing better services there where they have a customer base to justify that. So our region has to look at a bit of a different approach to see better levels of connectivity for the benefits of our community. And that's really why CBBC was created by the Trust. This is a map. I don't know if folks can see it clearly. I know you have the material up on the website as well. But basically, the fiber that's in red, folks might be familiar with Columbia Mountain Open Network or the SD20 fiber. That was fiber that was created by the Columbia Mountain Open Network. That entity kind of wrapped up and CBT took over its assets. So we got that red backbone fiber that's kind of in the West Kootenay there. Relatively recently, last summer, CBBC completed an arrangement with Shaw and acquired the fiber that's marked in blue on the map. So we gave them some of the fiber that we weren't using that's in red, and acquired fiber from them in the blue, and we acquired 4 strands there. So you can see that's a relatively nice network running through the West Kootenay and into the East Kootenay, up as far north as Canal Flats and into the Elk Valley there. You'll also see that the Columbia Basin is a lot bigger than where that backbone fiber is. And we don't have backbone fiber in other areas. So in communities that CBBC is working with, we're trying to bring better connectivity over that fiber backbone. In communities like Revelstoke, where you see the little green dot at the top end of the map, we have to bring connectivity by basically leasing a circuit from Shaw to be able to connect a community like Revelstoke. So they're not able to plug into our backbone fiber. We're still able to bring a better connection, but it's a bit of a different arrangement. That backbone fiber is a great thing for the region, but it requires work from us to be able to fully realize its benefits. One of those pieces of work is that we have to kind of activate what my colleague Richard, who's the technical brains, would call sort of network head ends or data centers. So basically when we get this traffic on the CBBC network, it has to go out to the world somehow. We have what are called 2 gateways, one in Cranbrook and one in Trail at the CFDC building. The one in Cranbrook is at our CBT office. And that's how we would take the traffic out of the CBBC network and sort of back out to the world. The other piece that CBBC has to do is we have to do small fiber builds kind of along that blue line. And those little green dots that are along the blue line are called points of presence, and they're really critical. Basically, we have to regenerate our fiber signal every 70 kilometers. So there's equipment we have to place, and points of presence we have to create, kind of go into a community hall, put in our equipment, that kind of thing, to be able to fully realize the benefit of that backbone. Sorry to spend a bit of time on the map, but it's kind of the context for what CBBC is trying to do. Current CBBC activities. I don't know if folks are aware, or if council is aware, that the CBT board actually approved CBBC's kind of 5-year business plan in September of 2013, and at that time, they approved $6.5 million in aggregate funding over the 5 years. If you're interested in seeing that business plan, it's actually available on the CBT website. We can send an email around. That sounds like a lot of money, but we're also talking about building this network for the basin, and it's actually not a lot of money when you look at the cost of some of the equipment that's required to activate that backbone. The other piece that is really critical that CBBC is trying to do at the same time, and I think just really fundamental to how CBT works with communities, is that we're trying to proactively work with communities on their own broadband projects that connect to this backbone or to circuits like the Revelstoke example, to try to bring them better service, to help them see the benefit of what we're doing. And your community is an example of that. I've put up the names of a few communities that are working with CBBC right now. And one of the things that I wanted to emphasize is that what we're doing with communities varies a little bit community by community. And it's, I think, just the nature of community development applied to the broadband context. But just to give you an example, in a community like Trail, you have a municipality that is of the size where it's got IT staff. You know, that individual is really involved in the development and we're thinking about how do we build this municipal distribution network in the downtown core, really helping to shape that project. In Caslow, a much smaller municipality, it's actually their local nonprofit ISP that's kind of working hand in glove with the village to help see a project there come to fruition that would bring better connectivity back to Caslow. I think what's really important for CBBC is that we have to be able to work with the Caslows and the Trails and the Rosslins and take into account those unique circumstances in communities, while at the same time trying to bring this regional model of better connectivity back out to the basin. One of the last things that I wanted to touch on when we say CBBC is activating the fiber backbone is that a really critical area for CBBC right now and a really big focus in the next two to 3 months is also building CBBC as an organization. And this is not the stuff that people issue press releases for. This is not the stuff that we make a big announcement and a splash about. But CBBC is basically trying to bring better connectivity to communities. That means we have to have all of the systems and process in place to support that. So I think of this as like the Ferrero Foods example. So City of Roslin's distribution fiber gets built and lit up, and Ferrero Foods is a customer over that distribution fiber. What happens at Ferrero Foods if the internet, their internet goes down at 3 p.m. on Christmas Eve, and they're dependent on a point-of-sale system that connects out over the internet? Who's going to help Ferrero Foods? Their local ISP needs someone to call. They need to call somebody at CBBC, that's kind of called our network manager. They need to know how to troubleshoot that. So we have to have all those systems and processes in place to be able to help the Ferrero Foods of the world. Part of what CBBC is doing is also selling better services to municipalities and regional districts. Same thing. So if a municipal asset is connected over fiber to the CBBC network, we have to have the systems and processes that help them if something happens. So that's a really important focus for the organization, but not the kind you write the press release about. An equally important focus for CBBC is the work to engage internet service providers. And so maybe I will just step back a little bit and talk about the CBBC business model very briefly. In the CBBC business model, and you can see this in the plan, what CBBC is talking about is essentially acting as the ISP to the municipality, so helping provide the services, the internet services to the municipality, much like a municipality would have an arrangement with a TELUS or a Shaw now. But what we want to also do is not be in the position, or try to be in the position of enabling local internet service providers to provide services back out over that municipal distribution network that connects the businesses. So we would sell something wholesale to an ISP. We would sell them the better connectivity, we would sell them the service, and the ISP's job would be to maintain the individual relationships with the businesses that are connected over the fiber. So that wouldn't be CBBC's job, that would be the ISP's job. So let's say ABC ISP goes out there, knocks on doors, signs up the customers that are connected over fiber. That ISP then pays CBBC for that ability to connect and provide service to that fiber, and a portion of that cost is returned back to the municipality, because the municipality is going to recover the cost of building that fiber over its lifespan. So this piece of engaging the internet service providers is really critical, and it's a new area for CBBC. Now that we're at the stage where we've got this backbone fiber, where communities are starting to build their networks, the next logical step is talking to internet service providers about, are you interested in providing services over this network? What does that look like? What are your expectations? Where do you see your role beginning and ending? What kind of support do you need from us? What's reasonable pricing from our side of things that will let you be competitive in a local market? Those are the discussions that we're embarking on having with local ISPs now. And to be really honest, that's a bit of unknown for us. We haven't had those conversations with ISPs yet. We don't know what they're going to say back to us. So that's a really important area where we have to engage with ISPs just like we would engage with municipalities and local governments to say, hey, this is what we're trying to build together. How do you see it working in the region? So that's a near-term priority as well. I'm not sure if council or members of the public are aware, but there is work at a higher level in the region to develop a regional broadband strategy. So the regional districts of Kootenay Boundary, Central Kootenay, Columbia Shuswap, East Kootenay, Valemont as a village at the north end of the basin, and the Ktunaxa Nation Council are all collaborating on a big picture perspective of what does the region need around broadband development. And I just put looking to the future there. These activities are talked about in our business plan. There are activities that we're getting to but haven't completed yet, and one of those is shared services. So the idea is over this backbone fiber that connects all of these municipalities, there's opportunity for our municipalities to engage in discussions like, does it make sense for every municipality to have their own email server? Do you save some funding by collaborating on those kinds of initiatives? So that's what shared services refers to. A consultant was kicking off this work by doing a bit of an inventory of IT systems, assets, and processes, and Roslyn participated in that. The other piece is wireless ISPs in rural area. As desperate as folks are in municipalities for better connectivity, folks in rural areas are just as desperate. With CBBC's backbone fiber kind of getting lit up and activated, we have the ability also to bring better connectivity to a wireless tower. And so there's work to do there of who pays for the infrastructure, how is that structured. So those are some of where we're focused. Just want to turn the light to Roslyn a little bit. I've kind of broken out here what we see as the key Roslyn project activities. One is the physical installation of the fiber, and with winter behind us, it's timely to move forward on that front. I was going to talk a little bit about CBBC's role. CBBC procured the construction of the Roslyn build, and so has engaged DSG Communications as the fiber builder. So CBBC can bring to the table sort of the project management of that bill, but working in conjunction in a team environment with the City of Roslyn staff, because there is support that the city will have to provide during that bill, potentially through Public Works or that kind of thing. So we'd see that sort of manifesting in a project kickoff meeting, regular updates, and get-togethers as needed. One of the other activities sort of happening concurrently with the installation of that fiber, and I should say installation of the fiber probably takes about 4 weeks. One of the activities happening concurrently with that installation of the fiber is the preparation of the point of presence. So this building that we're all in is intended to be the point of presence, the place where CBBC brings the fiber to the municipality, and then it spreads out from there. So there's work to do to prepare the point of presence. We're going to bring a lot of equipment and it's gotta go somewhere, that kind of thing. You might wanna look at the potential of having a backup generator on premise, so if power goes out and connectivity is lost, is that the kind of thing that we should look in? Okay. We try to capture, the approach for this, so keeping in mind that, you're one of the first communities that we're working with on these kinds of builds, what we did was put together kind of a memorandum of understanding that really outlines, you know, where are some of these roles and responsibilities, just to get everybody kind of on the same page early on. So that was the intent. That's the first one that we've done with the community, so really welcome any feedback on, hey, this makes sense, this doesn't, you know, that'll help us learn and you know, get it into good shape for future discussions with communities. After the fiber is built and after the point of presence is prepared, you actually have to physically connect to the CBBC network. That involves lighting up the equipment that you would have in this building, making sure it talks to the equipment that we have in the trail point of presence and back out to our network. That's actually not a lot of work in the grand scheme of things. It's a few hours to a few days, depending on how well it goes. And then we would do some testing as well to make sure that you were getting the degree of connectivity. CBBC is working on what we used to call a connection agreement, and I'm not sure that's the right way to capture it, but basically if CBBC is acting as the City of Roslin's ISP, we needed a service contract that captures that relationship. Just sort of linking back to that, how I said CBBC was building the business processes and the technical processes right now, we want that agreement to match the processes that we build, so we're working on, we had a draft agreement, we're working on reframing it to make it consistent with those processes. Another issue is who owns the fiber in Roslin. I think conversations in the community started, I think touched on that maybe it makes sense for CBBC to own all of the fiber and lease it back to the city. Maybe it makes sense for the city to own some or all of the fiber and lease use of it to CBBC. We think this is an area that we should discuss and walk through together. Other municipalities are sort of wrestling with it as well. We've engaged a telecommunications consultant who's got a lot of background on this in the province to come up with some pros and cons to each approach. What are the trade-offs? What are the things to consider? But from our perspective, just to be really clear, this build we see as benefiting Roslin. It's for the benefit of the municipality of Roslin. And then the other piece is attracting and engaging a service provider. And I mentioned that we were going out and chatting with service providers, and actually this week, Trail is a community that's more ready because their fiber is already built to bring that service provider on board. But when we meet with them, we're going to talk not just about Trail, but what about plans for Roslin as well. What does that look like? So that's the big picture on the project. I apologize if I took too much time. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, whenever we can get the lights on, and great. Does anyone have any questions for Amy? Go ahead, Councilman Cole.
Yeah, thank you, Amy, thanks for coming, and Neil, thank you very much. I'm really excited to have you come, because I have a lot of questions, actually.
Okay.
So, let me just see here. Okay, so what I understand from your presentation is the memorandum of understanding is the final contract, the actual nuts and bolts of the details of it would be more in the connection agreement. Is that where we'll see more of the specifics?
The memorandum of understanding is intended to strike an agreement for the stage we're at right now, which is how does the build work, who's paying for the cost of the build, who has what roles and responsibilities during the build, how is that going to work? Are you guys going to give us permission or give the contractor permission to go into your municipal right away to lay fiber, that kind of thing? Right. So it deals with that. You're right, there is a longer term agreement that would be the connection agreement, the service contract for the city of Roslin.
And that's
for
we'll
acting
as specific
CBBC acting as the service provider in that arrangement. Yeah, and it does reference equipment.
Okay. Like when I look at a thing like this, I think, you really need like a work plan, right? And we haven't seen anything like that. Sort of like timing, rollout, who's doing what, when kind of thing. I think of like a route map, for instance. It's referenced in here, but it isn't included in here. So I don't know where we are with that.
Yeah.
We've seen one at one point.
Yeah. So on I think there's two parts to that question. So on the work plan side of things, my colleague, Richard Wake, is our Chief Technology Officer. He's been working on a work plan for the Roslyn project, and our intent was to have a kickoff meeting with staff and to walk through that work plan. So that would say things like, gosh, in the point of presence, we need to look at the wiring. Are we going to subcontract that out? Who would be best, who would be the appropriate subcontractor? So Richard's looking at all of those pieces right now, so we will have a work plan to discuss.
Okay, and when is that likely to happen?
The project kickoff meeting, we had talked about having that next week.
Okay, so that's next week. And then that, in that work plan, it's going to say timelines for things as well as tasks.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I'm even thinking like, I don't know, on the route maps, do we have some things going to be underground? We have some things overground? Is that going to all be laid out?
You do have some things underground, you do have some things above ground. That work was already, I think, primarily completed by your task force, in conjunction with Councillor Blumey. The reason I didn't attach the maps was that we had multiple ones on file, so I had sent a note to your colleague to say, these are the maps I have.
Yeah.
Can you confirm which ones are on your side? Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you talk about poll permit, status, and then, so you're talking about
all poll permits are complete.
Yeah, they're all done. And you have some of them for the part that comes
That's
from
right.
St. Paul to City Hall, and we have the rest.
That's right.
Okay, that's good. And I'm also curious, it's like, are we getting third-party inclusion or dependency in this in any way? I mean, if the talk goes around where, TELUS is getting involved or Shaw is getting involved, and
do you mean, are we in third-party space on the polls?
Are we or are they? I mean, when we lay this all out, are we using some of their fiber, or is it all separate?
We would install our own fiber in what is called, I believe, third-party space on the pole.
Okay.
The arrangement might be slightly different from Fortis because we have a different agreement with Fortis through Command, but
okay.
Yeah.
So it'll vary depending on sort of where.
But it's our fiber on their poles.
Okay. And then we sort of hit on this a little bit, like performance parameters. Would those be specified, like the up-down speeds and capacity, that kind of thing? That will get spelled out. None of these details have sort of been laid out. Will that be spelled out in the work plan or in the agreement?
No, not in the work plan so much, but I think maybe I can address some of that right now. So what CBBC is capable of bringing through to your point of presence is 100 meg connection, and what we have available through our gateway and trail, which is what you would be connected through, is burstable up to 100 meg. So
that's up and down?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's what CBBC has available. What we're working on with the ISPs is looking at what are the appropriate levels of connectivity to offer them. So for example, an ISP serving a small business in your community might not need 100 up, 100 down. They might want a 10-10 offering to be able to offer the ISP. So those are the different offerings that we're looking at talking about with the ISPs, of saying, okay, well, should we offer 10-10, 25-25, that kind of thing, and what's the appropriate price for those things. And to answer your question of where that gets spelled out, we would spell out what speed that we provide you as a municipality, where we act as your ISP in that connection agreement. The approach to the ISPs would be kind of in a pricing offering, and then we would do a different agreement with the ISPs.
Okay, and this is maybe a little bit future question, but what's going to be the capacity to expand that if we run out, if we sell all that you have, and we've got a couple of big businesses that use a lot? We would
have to look at whether we can scale up through our gateway, and what's the cost of that, and how do we flow that back through.
Okay.
And the other, and that really is, just from a strategic big picture perspective, that really is the limitations that CBBC faces. We have a 100 meg gateway out of Trail, and we have a gig gateway out of Cranbrook. In order to fully utilize that gig gateway, we have to remember all those green dots on the map. They all have to be connected. The equipment has to all be placed. We're also placing equipment that gives us the ability to be 10 gig over the network in the basin, if that makes sense. To be able to get better connectivity out of the basin really requires us to be doing some long-term strategic thinking. Should we connect down through the States, where bandwidth is going to be way cheaper, for example, than if we buy it from a TELUS or a Shaw up here? Those are questions that impact not just Roslyn, but other communities in the basin, and kind of link back to that sort of that regional broadband strategy that I was talking about.
Okay.
Big cost, but big picture too, right?
it had been kind of a long time since we've seen any sort of a budget that has to do with our project here.
Mhm.
Is that something that'll come out with the work plan as well?
Well, I think we sat down with mayor and council, a councillor and staff in end of January, and we walked through numbers, and I think those were the numbers that were incorporated in the financial plan, if
They
I'm
haven't changed.
if I'm not mistaken, and no, they haven't changed materially. There's a few areas in those in the MOU that I flagged for discussion with Tracy.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. And there's some costs that I think we need to talk through, that kind of thing, but.
Yeah. When I was reading the MOU, I did have some questions about some of the language I thought was kind of vague.
Yeah.
But maybe I could just email that to
Please
you.
do.
Because it's not necessarily a question, it's just something
Yeah.
I read it and I go, well, how do you define that?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what's timely?
I just wonder from a process perspective, if other councillors have comments too, if it's easiest to flow through Tracy, or I'm happy to take comments directly to you and I can leave my card.
Yeah, either way. Whatever
I think it'd be
whatever
best
you want.
if we go through Tracy, just
Yeah,
for
that'd be fine.
consistency.
Let me see what else I have here. I had a question about the regional group that you were mentioning.
The Regional Broadband Committee, yeah.
Because I know the RDKB rep, well, who was the RDKB rep was Larry Gray, but he's no longer an elected official. So that means he's a citizen, right?
That's right.
So that means there's no elected official. So in terms of our area here getting reporting back, how would that happen, or should there be someone else?
Yeah, so actually to
Selected.
clarify, Chair Grace McGregor sits on that committee, and RDKB, even though part of RDKB is in the basin and part of it is not in the basin, RDKB is actually participating for the whole boundary area as well, and Grace McGregor sits on the committee. Larry continues to sit as a member of the public on the committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And
So Grace
we
is
don't
on the
ever
committee.
hear anything from that group in terms of, I don't think we've ever gotten any sort of a report about
Yeah.
what they're doing for the benefit of all of us.
They did a public presentation session, I think, at the AKBLG last week, but not
Yeah,
everybody would have
the
been
first I
able
heard
to.
of them.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
why I'm asking.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see, what else? Look at that. I have those, I'll give you some feedback later. Okay, so now you talked about you have this DSG or whatever is your installation
Yeah, so we
contractor,
procured
right?
the fiber build with, DSG
Okay.
Communications, they're based in Kimberley.
So they haven't started,
They haven't started, no.
Okay, because I thought I've seen some stuff on the poles here, and I'm thinking, oh, we've already started our install, but no.
No.
Okay,
They're on contract though, just to clarify, for other, entities and other telcos, and they do a lot of work in the region, so you may well have seen them doing work in
Yeah.
Roslyn.
okay, and then the other thing in the MOU, it was talking about having, one of the things the city would agree to is that your unnamed contractor, wherever it happens to be, would have.
DSG Communications, yeah.
Well, it
Oh.
doesn't say that, in there it says,
Yeah.
you know, unnamed contractor, would have 24/7 access to the POP, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, if that's in City Hall, I mean, is there any way you can make that kind of a separate unit? Does it have to be inside the building, or can it be a exterior box or
It
something?
can in fact be outside the building, and that's something we wanted to talk about in the kickoff meeting. There are two options essentially. One is to put all our equipment in a cabinet outside of the
Yeah.
building, and the other is to put it in a cabinet inside the building. And when we were having conversations with the municipality earlier, we didn't have a cabinet that would be suitable for the inside of the building. We actually have one now, and so that's why we flagged that you know, we would need to have the ability to have access to the municipal office. But those kinds of things, the trade-offs of what does that access mean and how does that look versus the exterior approach, those are the things that we want to talk through.
Okay.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to just do something.
Right, and then I was interested when you were talking about building your own capacity within
Yeah.
CBBC, which sounds great, right? I'm just curious, how many people are in CBBC right now, just you and Richard?
Yeah, there's Richard and I, so I kind of deal with the business side of things. Richard deals with the technology side of things.
Okay.
But we have administrative support through CBT. We have operational support through CBT. We have the guy in the back who lends a hand every now and then
When
through
you're not crippled.
CBT. And we have, there's a couple of things that we've been in in the process of contracting out that make sense to contract out around network management and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So those are things that we aren't going to add as a staff role, but we are going to contract. And then there are staff that we're looking at adding in the near term, but not 20 staff.
Yeah, no,
one
I mean,
staff.
I just think it looks like you've got a huge project here with two people, one technical person and one
Right.
project management person. It seems like you need to have a plan for expanding your resources, and maybe that's in the business plan that you mentioned, right, that I haven't seen. so.
Yeah, and I'll send the link to Tracy, and she maybe can circulate it back
Okay.
out so you guys don't have to go hunting for it on the CBC
Yeah, that'd be
website.
good,
But I
yeah.
don't think it will speak to a whole bunch of specifics on staff. So I will tell you that
Okay.
in the near term, we're looking at maybe adding 1, maybe 2 staff, and that we've added a number of contract pieces, or are adding a number of contract pieces that will help us.
And are you looking predominantly at technical staff?
Yeah.
Okay. And then here's kind of a general question. What do you see as the role of our task force?
Well, I think that is dependent on what you, as a community, see as the responsibility of your task force and how you'd like to work with them. Different communities are doing it in different ways. Caslo doesn't have a task force, for example, but their ISP, as I mentioned, is really the entity that has, I would say it's board members working proactively with the municipality. Castlegar has just started its task force, but I would say it's further back compared to where you guys were. Your task force, I think, did that legwork of engagement in your community, which has kind of it seems to have wrapped up, whereas Castlegar is just starting on that, so their task force is closer to that.
Yeah.
So I would say that's really your community's choice of where you feel your task force can best add value. From a contractual perspective, our relationships are with the city, and probably Tracy and I are going to end up being really close friends by the time this project is over, or something like that. Or you and Richard are. So I think that's your community's choice.
Okay, I was just sort of trying to get at what benefit the task force could, I mean, because there's just so few of you, right? Is there more of a role that you could see our task force taking on to move this forward a little faster? We've been here a couple of years now, right? We're still kind of here.
Yeah, I hear you.
So,
yeah.
Okay. You know,
we will put up our hands and ask for help as needed, absolutely, for sure.
Great. And then just a couple more. There have been a number of technical and business case questions that have come up from our task force, and what I hear is that they don't actually get answered. They haven't been able to talk to Richard, or they haven't, you know, it's like, and I'm just wondering if there's a way that we can make this connection more efficient, more effective. Can they just call him up and ask him a question?
No,
or they need to go
we would prefer not, and only because building that network takes a lot of time and resources. But if your task force has specific questions, I think CBBC would be happy to attend a meeting with your task force members and your municipal representatives together. What we don't want to do is meet with your task force representatives without you folks here as the municipality, because you are the ones that we have the contractual, the legal, that kind of relationship. But, you know, if you want to get together for dinner one night with CBDC and task force members and municipal representatives, we're happy to do that.
I think their questions were more of a technical nature, not of a political nature, so it'd make more sense. I mean, I don't really want to sit there and listen to bits and bytes and all that necessarily, but I think it would be a benefit to them, right? And then, okay, so I did go to the presentation at the AKBOG.
Excellent.
That Net City was there. And I'm just wondering now, they're the consultant to the working with the regional group.
Yeah, IBI group with Net City on subcontract.
IBI Net City and is the Gals.
There's lots of contractors.
You're right, sorry. And I'm just wondering, are they just contracted on a very high level? The presentation was quite high level. It's very strategic.
Very much so,
you know, this kind of thing, right? Big goals, and but not kind of
not the nitty-gritty.
Not the nitty-gritty that the communities need to get off of first base, right? So I'm just wondering, are they, you know, how is that going to mesh with us, right?
Yeah. So just a couple of things. Maybe first to clarify, CBBC's and CBT's role really has been to support that regional broadband committee, and we're funding the consultants' work. We're kind of, you know, bringing the sort of the resource horsepower a little bit to the work of that committee, but the thinking work, the decisions, the what should be in the strategy, how should that work, that has been the committee's focus with the regional districts and the SNAHA and Valemont representation there. The intention really was to develop a higher level, bigger picture strategy, and that's what was procured and what IBI was successful in bidding on. The end of date for their project is late April, early May, and one of the things that I think, one of the things that the committee has talked about is that there's a layer underneath that, much as you're saying, of implementation, or let's get into the more specifics. Okay, if this is the big picture direction, what are the things we need? And so they're already talking about how do we shape that document. And of course, CBT would be happy to help with that, but I think that's their conversation to have.
One thing that they said, which I thought was really interesting, it makes a lot of sense, but they were talking about the need to go at the federal, the federal government has announced all this money that
That's
they're
right.
gonna throw at rural, broadband.
Yep.
And they're saying, well, we'll go at it as a group, right?
Mhm.
We're gonna go at it, we're gonna have power in numbers and all that.
Mhm.
But my concern is that we're already going down this road,
Mhm.
and we're already gonna put a fair chunk of municipal
Mhm.
money into this. And then if they come around 6 months later and get all this grant money, it's like, we're out, we've already done it, sort of like if you're an early adopter, sometimes you miss the grant money, and I'm just wondering if there's any way to, how that would be addressed, right?
I think those are really regional conversations and probably political conversations to have
Mhm.
about if there are funds that make sense to pursue at a regional level and grant dollars that make sense to sort of chase collectively. What are they used for? How are they best used? What does it mean to be an early adopter versus a second mover, that kind of thing? I think those are conversations that the region should have, and we're happy to help facilitate those. But I don't think those are our conversations. I think we can help bring insight, but.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, I just don't want us to miss out on grant money because we move too quickly. Not that I feel like we've been moving quickly, but you know what I mean. Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate
No problem.
the answers and the presentation.
Counselor Fisher?
Oh, okay.
I know that might have been a little bit more questions than.
Happy
You
to
did a
take
great-
any
You
questions.
did a great job.
Trails ISP, have they picked an ISP yet?
No, those are the conversations that we're going out with Trail to have this week, of
Mhm.
sitting down and talking with the ISPs.
And the ISPs, are you already familiar with the ISPs? That's what I'm
With
saying.
ISPs in our area, yes. Yeah,
Mhm.
we
And
we
you've
know
had
them. There was a
conversations
large meeting that I think CBBC hosted in summer of last year
Mhm.
with ISP representation. But have we proactively engaged with them and said, hey guys, this is what we're thinking about offering, here's what the network means, here's what we say our role beginning, ending, here's how, we haven't done that yet, and that's the work that we're starting this week.
So, how about this one? So, say Trail and Rosslyn are built, we pick an ISP, when are we lit up? When would we actually be lit up? Like, do we have to have all these points in place first?
No, because you would go out through our gateway and Trail.
Mhm.
So if you were Creston, I would have to give you a different answer.
And our gateway goes through TELUS?
Your gateway goes through a group that buys it from TELUS. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's it
Yeah.
for now.
Counselor Walton?
Thanks for your presentation, and thank you for all the questions. That was pretty informative. I have one question about the appendix on the memo of understanding.
Yes.
And it's under municipal consent.
Yes.
And it speaks about may enter on and break up any highway or other public place for the purpose of constructing, maintaining, or operating.
Yes.
Which I understand. My concern is, if there is some sort of a change to a municipal street or whatever it is, who pays for the repair of that?
If there is
I mean,
damage as a
and I
result of
don't-
the
Yeah, if there's some sort of damage, some sort of repair that's required, then does that become a municipal responsibility?
I think that.
And whether you can answer that right now or not isn't necessary, but it's just, it's a question that needs to be clarified at some
Yeah,
point in time.
so I think if we were doing this on your behalf, and it was backbone, it was fiber that we were building for you, not the fiber that we're bringing to the point of presence, because we have to build that too, the fiber that allow you to connect to our network, then I think that one is our cost, no question whatsoever. So if there was, because that fiber is for CBBC's benefit, not just your benefit. If there was an issue resulting from the build in the community, and it was because the network is for your benefit, I think that's something that where we come and talk to you and say, okay, let's look at this here, and we might ask for recovery of those costs from the municipality. Now, that said, I think that part of what we would also look at is, did our contractor do the due diligence they should have? And that's why those advanced conversations and that communication through the project are so critical.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Counselor Smith?
Yeah, thanks again for your presentation. I just was looking for some clarification on a couple of things, and I'm on the Appendix A, Statement of Work and Costs. And I just had a quick note here about what's the difference between the first A, so in other words, CBBC is responsible for the cost of installing the fiber, et cetera, that clause, right?
Yeah.
And I guess what I was unclear about was a couple things. First of all, the point of presence, where's the differentiation between the CBC network and the municipal network?
Well, there's a bit of overlap,
Yeah.
because the fiber is coming from the Demarc point, which is up on St. Paul Street.
Mhm.
Demarc just means where our fiber is already, and that's where the
Right.
new fiber gets plugged into,
Right.
down to the municipality. And you're gonna use some of that fiber
Mhm.
to probably serve some of your downtown businesses, that kind of thing. But we need to build that fiber anyway to be able to serve you, because we have to bring the connection to the city hall. So that's the fiber that we're talking about, that CBBC needs to be responsible for, because we'd have to build that fiber anyway to get to city hall. And then you're building out to connect the waterworks and that kind of thing.
Which will be ours?
Yeah.
The municipal, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, and one of the things that CBBC and the municipality have talked about is if some of that fiber, because we're gonna lay conduit and aerial fiber between the Demarc point, the point where the fiber already is up on St. Paul,
Yeah.
down to the municipal point of presence,
Mhm.
there's gonna be a number of strands, so maybe some of those strands are for us to be able to bring that connection to your point of presence. We probably need about 4, and then the rest are for you to use to be able to connect your local businesses and that kind of thing.
Okay, I'm glad I asked that question, because I would have never known that. The other thing is, let me just see, I got notes everywhere here. Okay, so the other part was about the fiber and the city leasing it or owning it, and so
Yeah.
that's gonna come through
Yeah,
further
so what we did, one of the things,
negotiations, or-
that Mayor and Councillor Blumey sort of flagged for us is, you know, boy, we have a choice to make here. Do we own it or do you own it? We'd like some outside advice on that. So we asked a telecommunications consultant we work with, and he's done up a memo sort of saying, here's the pros and cons. And so I know you guys want to get this project built. I'd hate to have it held up by who should own it and how do we structure that. So, you know, I think give us the time during the build of saying, okay, here's some of the pros and cons. You guys can sit back and reflect and make a decision.
Kind of, I'm just smiling to myself because we're in, of course, a lot of discussions with regards to sewer, and when I look at the length of pipe from Ross and to the sewerage plant out there and go, wow, we got the bad end of this. So when we're
Yeah.
talking about fiber and network and all that, I just want to make sure that we're
I understand your point.
that we're benefiting and it's sustainable, obviously. Yep.
Mr. Muth wanted to ask.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not really a negotiation. We'll help you kind of understand the two issues, but
Yeah.
we can work it either way. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and are there other examples with other municipalities already that would say?
So City of Trail owns their fiber.
Right, so
Right.
pros and cons
City of Nelson
for,
owns
okay.
theirs.
Okay, so the municipalities own the
Caslo's
okay.
thinking about it.
Okay, thank you.
Hasn't decided, yeah.
Great. Any further for you? Thanks very much for
Yeah.
coming, Amy.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Muth, thank you very much. I'm sure we'll be talking more in
You
the
bet.
near future.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we drew off 6A, correct? I think I remember that. B, request for council decision on Esley Park Lodge. Perhaps, well, I just wonder what the best way to do this.
I have a motion I'd like to make.
Yeah, I don't know, you know, it doesn't matter, you make the motion, we'll get the explanation after. Take the
Okay,
motion.
I'll make a motion. I would like to make a motion that we uphold the original agreement, which stated that the loan would be renegotiated starting January 2014, and have the society start to repay principal, $270,000, with interest, the MFA rate of 4.18, and have this start June 1st, and have the term of the new loan be for 25 years. And then include the terms 2, 3, and 4 from the staff recommendation. And I can give that all to you later. So basically what I'm saying is that we have them start to repay the loan, principal and interest, give them 25 years. And I have to say that was Councillor Fisher's wonderful idea to stretch it out for a longer period of time to make it less of a impact on them. And if I get a seconder, I can talk about it some more.
I was just gonna say.
Sorry about that.
Maybe we should second that.
I'll second it.
Councilor Fisher.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
No, that's good, because you probably have a lot more to say than I got written down.
Councilor Moore.
Okay, so I
I know.
have a little amortization chart here, and if we put in $270,000, And we have the term for 25 years, and the annual rate is the one that was quoted by our acting CFO of 4.18. That makes a monthly payment of $1,452.13, which, if you divide that by 23 units, is $63.14 per unit. I don't think we don't need to determine about how they apportion it between the apartments, because they may decide that's up to the society to do, but that's just to give us a little benchmark. So, in terms of why I think we should do this, I think, I think Mr. Harrison said a lot of what I intended to say, but, you know, we've already provided land for free for the 60-year lease. We gave them an interest-free loan of the $450,000, which cost the city $65,000 in interest at the time. And then we continue to give them the remainder of the $270 interest-free from 2004 until now, which in the staff report calculated as a lost investment income of $94,000 during that period. So the city of Roslyn has done a lot to support this building, and keep this concept alive and well, right? And as Mr. Harrison said, that was intended to keep our seniors in town, and it did admirably. As far as I know, it's all still seniors in there. But this is really a political decision, and this is money, this $270,000. We had that money in our hot little hands. Just think, we'd finance our entire broadband installation. We could pay down our Columbia, Washington debt somewhat. We could put it in the museum. We could do it for I&I. You see, there's other uses that we could do with this money to benefit all the citizens of Roslyn. Whereas if we continue to just leave it here, right, it's just benefiting the few people that live in that one building. And without it being low income or some other mitigating factor, I don't think that's really in the best interest of the citizens. So that's why I'm thinking now we hold them to their original agreement, which was to renegotiate it as of January 2014, and away we go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The only thing that I might suggest that we do is sort of this thing kind of got kicked down the road and landed on our desk because council's made some decisions a long time ago to support this this housing project. And the housing project, I think it does benefit more than just the people that are there, because they get to stay here. We get the benefit of them staying here. It helps our grocery stores and little things like that. So there's more of a benefit to it. It's better for grandkids to see their grandparents locally if that's possible, if they are still here. Those kinds of things are important, and to have a broad age category in your community is super important. But having said all that, I think that if we looked at it as getting the principal back with some interest, I think that that's a benefit. I'm not sure how the MFA interest rate thing goes. I was kind of thinking that you'd fix the interest rate for the complete amortization of 25 years at the 4.1 or whatever the interest rate is, so that it gave that society certainty going into the future. And we might forego 9% interest at some point in the future. I understand that because rates are really low now. But that's a market rate. And today, if you went out and put $270,000 into something, you're more likely to get 3% or something in that rate. So I think we would be getting a market rate today, and probably for the next 5 years we'd get a market rate. But after that, rates will probably go back up to their historical averages, which are around 8%. So we'd be foregoing 4% on that. But I don't think that's a bad thing given the project, and I think probably the project at the time should have probably fixed it at a rate. Now the interesting thing is, at the time the rates would have been closer to 9%. So they're definitely getting a benefit if we fix this rate. So I think that there are probably lots of arguments also for granting them, and I think there's some people out in the community that would like to see that as well, but I would not be a supporter of that. And I think that we should enter negotiations with them on their loan terms, because in the worst case scenario, it goes to a variable rate fix it for 5 years, and in 5 years, whatever the rate is, the rate is. So I think this is a pretty good deal, in my opinion.
Anything further? Awesome.
or, sorry.
Well, I think, our seniors in our town are, a vital and important part of our community. I was gonna suggest, we should start collecting the interest on it and, go from there, but, and sort of for, if there's any of those life leasers left, I thought we could, they've lost a lot of money over the years in that building. I thought that we could probably help them out a bit too by, just collecting the interest off the loan. It makes sense to, for interest rates to start, set a term now, take advantage of the low interest rates. That's a good point I can see right now, but say it's, I think we do have to collect something from them, at least the interest, and, you still got to feel for the life lease people that were, invested all their money and, and lost a good portion of it. But I still think we do have to collect something, so. I haven't quite made up my mind which way I'm going to go.
I guess I'm a little confused, just between Councillor Fisher. Were you speaking in favor of Councillor Moore's
Yeah.
motion?
All I was saying was
Yeah.
that if you fix the rate then, say it's 4.1, and fix it for 25 years.
At 4.1?
At 4.1, and collect the principal and the interest, you're likely better off as the people in the building than if we just go interest only on a variable situation, because inevitably it's going to go up to 9%, and then some other council will have to make the decision, when do we start collecting principal? So I think if we term it out longer, which is 25 years, which is a typical mortgage, and fix the rate, I don't think it's they might not see it as a win, I don't think they will, but at the same time, I think it's a balanced approach.
So you're just saying, the interest and the principal though, so you're in support of...
Principal and interest is...
Yes, at 4 point something.
Is about $1,440 a month on 270 grand. But if you split it over the 23 units equally, which we're not going to tell them what to do, it's about $63 each.
Right.
So if some units are a little bit bigger and they pay 85 and some pay 45, we don't know. That's up to them to figure out.
Okay, so just to, obviously I didn't know what this new motion was, but I did also in my notes, tend to want to speak to some kind of a payback starting, now, because as has been already presented by Mr. Harrison and the other councillors around the table, as well as really in the staff report, there are some losses that have already been endured by the city of Rawson, which means taxpayers, and they're, with their request, to me, it just continues to be double negative, where we're not getting anything paid back, and we're also not earning any interest on money because the money's not there to earn the interest on for all the reasons that we should be trying to improve revenue. So, I'm favorable to some kind of agreement where it's reasonable increase, because I know people who live in that building and they're not in need necessarily of being subsidized, and I don't think it's fair to the population of Rawson when there are people really who are just in the general populace who can't afford to subsidize others for their their own good reasons. So I think that it's time for them to become accountable to this loan and start to pay it back in a reasonable manner that's going to lend itself to paying it back, because that's what needs to be done. And I think 2039 is too far out there to start that process. That's all I'll say.
Ms. Walls.
Well, I don't have a lot to say, because I tend to agree with much of what has already been said, and I don't think it needs to be repeated. But I'm not really sure of exactly what the motion is, because it was, we don't have it before us. Councillor Fisher did mention something about beginning a negotiation, and I'm not sure that's exactly how the current motion reads. Excuse me. And the other piece of it, I suppose, is I believe June 1st was sitting in that motion. And I honestly don't know whether that gives sufficient time and notice to the society in order to make this change and, you know, up the rents or whatever decision making they will have to do. So, I tend to be generally in agreement, but I'm not really sure what motion's on the table.
Okay,
Do you want me to repeat it? Because I'm not sure.
okay, just the motion without the preamble and amble.
Well, yeah, the motion did kind of have some extra stuff in there. Let's see, okay, so, the motion was that we uphold the original agreement which stated the loan would be renegotiated starting January 2014, and have the society start to repay principal, $270,000, with interest, MFA rate of 4.18 as of June 1st. But I actually agree with, I don't really care if it's June 1st. We could take that part out. That could be part of the negotiation. Okay.
Finish
Well,
the
put
motion.
July 1st, as of June 1st. Further, the term of the new loan be for 25 years, and it would include terms 2, 3, and 4 from the staff recommendation.
See, that's why it's difficult.
Okay, well,
First of all,
it's
it's
just, add that to the
I
one
just didn't wanna
that we
write all the
had.
staff
Obviously.
recommendations.
Well, I don't mind the part about the staff recommendations,
Okay.
but if you make a motion, then we have a motion on the table, and you
Yeah.
say, well, I don't care if it's June 1st or whatever.
Okay,
So-
okay, yeah, so I was just gonna say, we just take out the June 1st part, because I agree with Councillor Wallace, we don't know if that's enough time. I just put it out there.
Your worship, I just, sitting here, I just Googled something because I am aware that there's restrictions on how much you can increase a person's rent per year. And what we're reading right now is inflation plus 2%.
In a rent-controlled situation?
No,
I mean, the landlord can.
any landlord
Any
tenancy
landlord.
agreement, any landlord tenancy, agreement, you can only increase rent
Yep.
at inflation plus 2%.
This isn't rent for us, this is a loan. Society would have
I'm
to sort that
just
out.
letting you aware of
So
that.
the society would go out and borrow money? Anyway, are you pretty clear with the motion, or what? Because I think that I'm, in general terms as well, in favor of the Essex Park starting to pay back the loan. I'm in favor of that. I also think, though, that rather than just pass a motion this evening saying you're gonna do it June 1st or July 1st or whatever the date is, first thing we should do is sit down and have some serious negotiations with them, because I don't know if $65 or whatever the number is a hardship for anybody. I don't know that. I do know that there are, I think, 4 suites in there that people are on low income. I do know that, and I don't know. I think the intent is good, and I think if we have formed as a park society that we are now wanting to enter into negotiations where we come up with a solution to start paying back principal and interest at a reasonable date so that they can plan, because I think this is too short term, because they have to plan, and as there are maybe other things that we're not even aware of as to legalities of the whole deal. So I'm speaking against the motion, but I am in favor of the intent. But I would rather see some negotiation and not just pass a motion this evening saying we're going to do this, bang, here it is. So that's where I'm at.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
I think one of the things that, as I read through this exhaustive history, which was fascinating, right? But one of the things that struck me about it is that since 2004, the society has known this obligation is coming, right? And if they put up rent $10 a month or whatever throughout this whole period, they'd be, I mean, we are not responsible for how they run that society or run those units. We are responsible to the greater citizenry of Roslyn, right? And how we spend everybody's money, which in this case we've given this money to this group for this. So I think we have to be careful and keep our eye on the prize here, right? It's like if there's struggling or hardship somewhere else, it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to solve those problems. We have our own responsibilities to the citizens that is our obligation. So, just saying.
By the same token, I don't know that we should impose hardships either
No,
unnecessarily.
I don't want to.
So that's why I think getting it sit down and negotiating how we can get to this thing, say, phased in approach over the next X amount of years so that they have certainty, they know where they're going, but it's a done deal in 2014, and this is where we're going. So I'm speaking against the motion, but I am in favor of the intent.
Have another
Well,
comment.
unless somebody else wants to speak for a minute. Councillor Wells, you had a couple kicks at it.
Well, given that we have a motion and seconded and on the table, now, is it, in order to proceed further, because I tend to feel the same way, that this is a negotiation, and the current motion that's sitting there may be the end product in the end, but we don't know. At this point in time, we just need to begin the negotiation and figure out how we can get towards something like that. So I would suggest, I don't know whether this motion would be defeated, or whether it would be withdrawn, and what the proper procedure is at this point, or whether the mover is even amenable to such a thing, so.
We'll ask the mover.
I'm thinking here. I'm thinking it takes me a while.
My comments would be different, though. If you defeat the motion, and you put another motion on the table, I will go with variable rates to protect the city of Rossville as the opening negotiation, rather than give what I consider a generous deal to them in the long run if they can figure it out. Because I think in the long run, in 25 years, this is a generous deal. It could just be easy, just as easy, another council sitting here saying, pay us back market rents in 10 years, and watch that number go up, and then their rents go up by $200 or $300 each. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think it's really fair to have that discussion with them, and I am in concurrence with the fact that there was a deadline, January already, and yes, I think a phased-in approach is probably reasonable. So if somebody wants to make a friendly amendment that the mover would support, I would support it too. But I think it is looking out. This motion actually does look out for the best interests of both sides. It's not just a one-sided thing. If the motion was made differently and we were just looking for money and a real market return, we wouldn't have made I don't think the motion I would have supported it in that way.
I'm sorry, I was just clearing my throat. I wasn't trying to get your attention. Yeah, and I concur with what Councillor Fisher is saying, because I think it's better to have parameters there. You go to the table, like it's like going to a negotiating table. You have something put on the table. You just don't go in and go, okay, we're going to have these. Let's have a chat. So go with some numbers and go with some, data, and go with it as a resolution of council. And if they can't manage it for, proven, valid reasons, then, we could go from there. But I think it's better to go in with parameters and numbers, honestly. And I think that it's fair. I think it's fair for both the city of Rossland and citizens and the society.
I don't think that I was really understood. I still don't have the motion in front of me, and maybe I missed something, but I don't know whether it is saying to negotiate or just this is what we're going to do. I don't know what that motion's saying. That's what's making it difficult for me.
The motion is not to negotiate.
I didn't think that it was in there. So if we're talking about negotiating, then let's put it in that motion, if that's what it is.
Well, can I speak?
Yeah.
We asked for the MFA rates from staff, and staff came back with that. So that's the interest rate that we could expect, right? I wouldn't expect to necessarily negotiate on that. It's like it's already an extremely low rate, 25 years. Actually, when I came in, my idea was 10 years, and Councillor Fisher convinced me of the benefit of 25 years, and we, and I agreed. I think we're already giving them a very good deal. It's like negotiate. It's like they've had free money for years. I mean, it's like just because this council didn't make those concessions to them, other councils before did, and at some point you have to say, look, the citizens of Rossland should be getting their money back, and that's what this is trying to do. I'm fine with having it start at some phase time. That can be the negotiation, right? They come back. I mean, they came to us and they said, well, we just want to continue interest-free because we can't afford it. But no one has offered us any basis for that. No one has said, everyone in here is low income. Everyone in here eats on food stamps. Or what? I mean, do you know what I'm saying? No one has shown us that there is a great need. And as we know, it's definitely not a low-income housing place. So it's not our place as council to subsidize what should be sort of market rental, right? If they don't have low-income people in there, they should be charging market rent. That's a decision of the society. If they don't want to charge market rent, that's their decision. But don't take it out on us and then come hat in hand and say we can't afford it, right? Because, you know, if you go, you can't do that with your home mortgage. You can't say, oh, I can't afford it because I want to go to Mexico every year instead of paying my mortgage, right? You can't do it. So I think this is a reasonable thing to offer, and you know, Councillor Fisher's thing about, well, the rate is likely to go up if we fix it in now or doing it. I hadn't thought of that, but I think it's a good point. So no, I want this motion to stand as it is. And let me just see if I can make it a little clearer, simpler, right? Okay, so we'll just say that the motion is that the society will start to repay the principal with interest at the MFA rate for a term of 25 years, and we include the terms 2, 3, and 4 from the staff report. How's that?
And you didn't want a date on that?
No, and that can be the negotiation. When they start to pay can be the negotiation. If they say they can't do it by June.
And that's at the 4.18?
Yeah, the MFA rate for the 25 years, which is according to staff.
Councillor Fisher's okay with that?
Yeah, totally okay with that.
Okay, how's that?
Councillor Patrick?
See, I'm curious, is there a lineup of people get into that place that I don't? Is it?
Yeah, there's a waiting list. They
Is
said
there-
that
is
when
there
they
a waiting-
came, when they came and
Yeah.
presented, they said there was a waiting list. There's definitely a waiting list.
Well, if we, you know, the rent will, you know, definitely go up. Just what, you know, if it's gonna force any people out of there, I don't wanna see any of those rooms go empty. So, you know, if there's a lineup of, there's a waiting list to get in there, but it'd be a shame to have anybody move out because we're increasing the rent. But, you know, I understand that, you know, we should be starting to collect something back from them, so.
Okay, well, I do know of the, I don't know whom they are, but I do know there are 4 or 5 low-income families in there, and that's, quite frankly, my concern. I understand the fact that maybe this is a good deal interest rate-wise, I get all that, but I think just to go bang is really, to me, I don't think it's as fair as we should be. And I think that, if this motion passes, and I put a date on it, I think that we should give some time frame for them to get ready for this coming.
And
Granted, 2014's been there forever, I get all that.
I was gonna say, 2004, they've known it.
Or you could even, look at, here's the crazy thing, I mean, if you wanna give room for people to get out, say, they have to get out, cause they know it's coming, you could phase that part of it in too, that could be part of the negotiation. So maybe the 25 years is a moving thing, and maybe you phase it in over 3 years, which pushes it out to 28 years. I'm just saying that there's a possibility that you're still gonna collect the money, that's the thing, is at the end of the day, you need to collect the money.
I think if you made a timeline by the end, you know, by December 1st, that's when we're gonna start collecting, then that's gonna force anybody, you know, increase in rent's gonna force anybody out, that's gonna give them time to find another place and to get the rooms rented out. You know, give 6 months notice, you know, give the residents a chance to see what they wanna do. I think 6 months is a fair timeline to.
So we could attach a timeline, but Councillor Wallace.
Well, I'm wondering if staff is clear on the direction that this would be giving to them.
Well, let's find out right now.
Yeah, we're gonna be going to the Thousand Park Lodge and telling them that we are drafting up an agreement that has them repaying for 25 years at the 4.18, and talk to them about how they wanna phase that in.
Well, everybody happy with that? I'll call the question. On the motion, all in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried.
Your worship, for the next item? I am going to remove myself. I see a potential for perceived conflict of interest.
Thank you. Okay, recommendations from staff for decision and request of council decision development permit application for Red Mountain Resorts Acquisition Corp. Planning Department. Resolved, the council approves the development permit application from RMR Acquisition Corp. On the following properties, and I'm not gonna list them all. Subject to the conditions as noted. I'm not gonna list those up either. We'll see if we can. Well, I'm not going to.
Just laugh.
They're all.
We don't want you to.
Thanks. Anyway, is there a mover to that, first of all? Yeah, moved by, Fisher, second by Moore. Discussion, Mr. Fisher.
No, I mean, we have, development permit requirements that are gonna be followed through the planning department. I don't see any reason why.
You, Councilor Moore?
I had a number of questions that our planner answered for me very fully. I appreciate that. So I have no further issues.
No, sir.
Did we see all those questions and answers?
Yes, they were in email,
Yeah.
but you were working.
Well, I probably haven't seen them. So, anyway, I had a couple questions around it. I guess more curious about the transportation route changes within it, because it wasn't, there's no maps or anything of that. And as well, parking lot reconfiguration and what that will entail.
Yeah. So those were also Councilor Moore's
Oh,
suggestions.
okay.
And the specifics aren't known to this date, and nor do they need to be for this permit.
Mhm.
The permit is specifically to deal with the environmental, what will happen as a result of that.
Yeah.
So
Sylvie will be on
specifics are not
site?
known.
Sylvie will be on site?
Good old Sylvie.
No problem.
You remember her well.
Yes, we do.
Okay, anything further?
No,
On the motion, all in favor? Opposed, motion carried. Thank you, Stacy. Did you have anything else tonight, or?
Yeah, I got a few.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna go get Counselor.
Yeah. B. Everybody ready? Council decision, read the Rockland utility bill. Is there a motion that council directs staff to use the average monthly utility charge for 2012 of $299.44 and under recalculate the 13 and 14 utility charges for the Rockland neighborhood public? Moved by Fisher, second by Walls. Discussion. Walls.
It seems fair. It seems like a fair solution to a difficult issue.
Thank you, Councilor.
I'm just curious, what was the problem with, did the meter break? What was the problem?
Go ahead.
So the actual meter is underneath the rock cut, I understand, and the actual meter sends a signal to a box on the outside. So when the radio read is being done, that sends a signal that we read. But there was a problem from the actual meter itself to the box on the outside. So it was sending some consumption, but not a true reflection of the actual full consumption.
So the meter then had to be replaced, the thing that was transmitting to the box?
I think the whole thing has been replaced in terms of the actual meter and the actual radio, remote read, yeah.
Okay, and I have one other really quick question is, so would normally there be something in the office where somebody would have seen this discrepancy, it would have been is there any way that, I mean, I'm just wondering, what can we do in-house that can prevent it from happening again with somebody else?
So it was in the accounting clerk's hands of all the utility bills, so I didn't get particularly involved in that with new staffing and the learning curve of the job. We're looking at procedures like that to prevent it. There is an estimation facility within Baden that we can do, so what we're doing on a monthly basis now is looking at consumption. If somebody's got nil consumption, we're putting an estimate in. We're looking at ways to try and figure out if somebody's gone from a consumption way up here to way down there, how can we pick that up? So, there was the accounting clerk now was on a training course for the full last week, so I haven't spoken to her yet about that, so we'll see if something came out of that there, but it is being looked at.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further? Counselor?
Yeah, I had written down exactly the same thing, some kind of check and balance, or some kind of when there's a spike in something, bill-wise or number-wise, alarms or something.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a whole kind of learning
Yeah.
curve that
Yeah.
goes with it,
Mhm.
and a lot of knowledge that's been lost, so we're trying to build that up.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
On the motion, all in favor? Opposed, motion carried. Information items, a motion to receive the information items and act on the recommendations, subject to. Is there a mover to, moved by Spear and seconded by Moore. Any items that we're discussing here? Counselor Spear.
Well, I had C, D, H, I, J, K, but I'm not sure if I want to speak to all those, but put those down just in case.
We got nothing else to do tonight. Talk more.
She covered all the ones I wanted to.
Yours are done?
Yep, mine are done.
Fisher?
No.
Covered.
I'm covered, yeah.
Okay, here we
He
go.
isn't bad.
C. This could be a world record for the alphabet, shortest alphabet.
Let me see. I can't even remember what it was.
C.
Sorry, I have to go there. Hang on.
Regional District Sewer Letter Package.
Oh,
Is this part of that?
so I guess I had that down, and, is that letter go with it or something?
No, that's
Oh,
M.
that's different.
M is the-
Anyway, so when I look at the
Oh, I know.
the sewer letters, so do we get a response back after our letters that keep going? This is through you to our staff. Like, was there a responding letters? Like, I'm kinda confused about where we're at with that. The regional sewer letter?
Your
Tracy?
worship, every letter that we sent, we have not received an official letter back.
Okay.
Other than this, I'm assuming was the response to our first letter.
Mhm.
And later on, the addition is our response to this.
Okay. Thank you.
Did you get that? So we're responding to this letter?
Yeah.
It's right there. The one
Oh,
that-
I see, okay, thank you, that's why I had the
Anything else on
question.
C?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, this is just, the letter is like one giant paragraph. I'm just wondering if you might figure a way to make it into two paragraphs if you break
We're
it.
not talking about
We're
that
not
letter.
talking about that.
Oh, we're not? I thought that was the response to this one.
That's M.
So that's at the end.
Okay, but it's
We're on
the
A.
answer
Talking
to
about
the,
the
I'm sorry,
relationship.
I was putting it where it goes with its letter. No, I don't have anything to say about what they said.
Anything else on C? Moving right along, D. Counselor Spear.
Yeah, so I guess I was just curious about the, resort, municipality funding initiative. And on the first paragraph where it says greetings, and this is to staff, this is a one-time only acceleration of funding for the RMI payments. I was just curious about what that meant, the acceleration of funding, and what's that mean?
Your worship, to the council, we usually get a check, twice a year.
Mhm.
And, they have accelerated the funds to give us all of 2014 and part of 2015.
Okay.
So they're just giving it to us ahead of time.
Mm. Okay, and then thank you for that, and then.
Lord only knows what the future may bring.
Well, that's what I'm worried about when I read in a couple of places about, that they're reviewing and all of that. Is there a sense that that funding is in jeopardy?
Your worship, through the council, that would be speculation. I can tell you that they are looking at our project very closely.
Mhm.
There is concern of, the province wanting to see, capital infrastructure that will be staying put. So,
As opposed to
Non-capital.
operating, or?
operating, or, right now we're running our shuttle through what's called resort services.
Right. So you would use the shuttle as an example?
Operating is, limited to 10% of the funding.
Okay.
All right, we're
Yeah.
running the shuttle through, resort services, but they are looking at, there is some concern, there was an indication that there is some concern that there's something left at the end of the day.
Right.
That's
Tangible.
tangible.
Anything more on D?
I knew I had reasons to ask that.
It should be 70% infrastructure, 30% service, that's how they.
They wanna see it broken out.
Yeah.
And are those lines in that letter, are they specific to Rossland, or are
Everybody.
they? Okay, thank you.
All 14 municipalities.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, I was really confused by this too, because it said 10.5 million one-time special purpose grant funding. That doesn't sound like it's,
Yeah, so,
well, it doesn't sound like it's the regular program
Yeah.
that they're just accelerating and paying to us early. So that was, I had the same question. It's like,
It is the regular.
okay, so, and does this 48,000 reflect that we're now a 2% community?
Yes.
Is that, so it's the right amount, they're not gonna give us something else? Because they were gonna give us some other payment to make up for they gave us the first payment as a 1% community.
And that second payment is part of that.
It's part of this
that's
48.
48.
Okay. Okay.
Further on D.
Bummer. Oh, yes, one other thing. So they talk about this conference call they're gonna have with staff. So you'll give us a report or something on that afterwards? Well, you've already had it?
That was it, yes, and that's where they explained that it was accelerated money, that it wasn't anything extra.
Oh, okay.
that's confusing.
Any more on D? Moving right along. H.
That's me.
You then.
Okay, so the Kootenai Columbia Learning Center, that is the alternate program in Trail, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And we have normally given them a grant? Bursary. So I just wanted to clarify some things in my own head. So we decided on the 2 scholarships to go down to Crow, and we have always supported this one. And I'm wondering, have we had a request from the Seven Summits Learning Center for their graduate students?
This is not the Seven Summits.
I know, I'm asking if we have had a request from Seven
So,
Summits
okay, but
Learning
do
Center.
you have anything to, that, we wanna talk about this one that's on here, and Tracy has her hand up, so I'm just wondering if you have a
No, I'm
question.
asking that question related to this piece of correspondence, yes.
Your worship, we received a request last week, it will be in your information package and on the next council package.
Thank you very much.
So do we have to do anything with this, with the, one that is on our list?
No, it was just,
Okay.
it was my springboard to that conversation.
Yes, well,
Nicely
spring-
done.
yeah, well,
Thank you very much.
That's your last springboard.
So,
H, any more? Now we're moving along to I.
is that me also?
I have,
Mountain Market,
oh,
No,
agreement
oh.
renewal.
I don't
while you're
know.
looking, can I speak to it?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't.
but that was yours, by the way.
Yeah, it was mine too. Okay, so I'm wondering, the contract's in there, and just the Cole's notes, was there any changes to the contract other than the date?
The dates?
Yeah.
The dates have changed because they used to start in July.
Okay.
And now they're asking for the one time
In May, and then start in
then
June.
starting in June.
Okay, other than that, no other changes to
No
the
other
contract?
changes, the market will be open, we've given them an extra little bit of time on either side to open and close the market, not just the operating hours.
Okay, I was gonna suggest, could we just say May to October, and then they can do that one-day May thing?
They haven't asked, have they?
That's not what they asked for, and if, I mean, I can, it's a yearly contract, so I can
Yeah.
explain that to them if they wish to start in May.
Yeah, well, I don't know, I was just thinking just easier, just change one letter in the, one, word in the contract, rather than have to send another letter saying, yeah, it's okay to use May 13th, or whatever the date was
Well,
they wanted.
this is what they asked for. Right?
Yeah, but sometimes you can give people more than they ask for, doesn't hurt you.
You seriously do that?
I seriously do that.
Holy schmoly.
Anyways, just putting it out there as a suggestion.
J, City of Roslyn memorandum from the planning department, Jubilee Park native tree planting.
That was me. I was just interested, I thought that was, a good example of the, well, I guess, incorporating or integrating education and the environment with the, I believe it is the Seven Summits Learning Center that's a student there that's proposing this, so I thought it was kind of neat. I actually wanted to ask while...
It's not the learning center.
Oh, isn't it?
Summit School.
Yeah.
RSS.
Oh, it's our school? RSS?
It's kids in your class.
Sorry. Well, they're all summits, that's all you have to remember. And RSS, I mean, it makes sense. Anyway, I won't say anything else. I was gonna say something.
I had a question about it.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if they were in touch with the community garden folks, because it looks like it's right there at the community garden,
Yeah.
they're working together.
Yeah, they all are.
Great.
Any more on J? Okay. Sustainability Commission, minutes of March 12th.
Any questions there?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, most people are thinking, Councilor Wilson.
Go ahead, questions.
Yeah, there were just a couple of things, and maybe, Mayor Granstrom or Councillor Moore could answer. There's a comment about, funding small requests, and I'm assuming from any unspent funds that they were receiving from the CBT. It just seemed like a very odd conversation to me. Where is this? Yes, Ms. Alex Loeb inquired about small requests as they come up and what the protocol is. Terry stated that unused funds may be used for these types of expenses. What does that mean?
I kind of vaguely remember, I think it was just
Miscellaneous?
yeah, miscellaneous stuff, like if she's the car share gal, if she had to go out and buy poster board to make a poster for the car share, she could submit a receipt. I think, yeah, was it?
But all the accounting for the CBT money has to be
Accounted.
Well,
Yeah.
it's specific to that, to the Hub of Learning project, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, she was just talking about miscellaneous, she's not involved with the Hub of Learning. I think she was just talking about,
I think that's my point.
yeah, but I think she was talking about sort of theoretically, how do you deal with little things?
Yeah, we're gonna
Because
turn
there's
it
no
over to
budget.
Ms.
Your
Butler right
worship,
now.
through the council, the CBT grant to the Sustainability Commission is not just for the Education Task Force. There was a component for both the Economic and the Energy Task Force.
Oh, okay, thank you, that helps.
Should have asked you first, and we could have saved it.
Yeah. And the other, just the other thing I'd like to pass on as a suggestion for the liaisons to take back. There's discussion here about transportation.
Mm-hmm.
And, I would suggest that, you know, to get to consider that we have a public transportation system set up. I know there were already efforts made last year in order to improve, the transportation to, Selkirk College. So, you know, rather than starting out on their own, maybe work with the system that's currently operating and, you know, go through staff in that direction.
Okay.
Just from what I was reading there. Is there something else there?
We can come back.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor.
Yeah, and, thanks, Councillor Wallace, because I also had flagged that, and, you know, when it says the bullet under transportation, currently in talks with Selkirk College and will be producing a survey, et cetera, to understand the current needs or opportunities for shuttle service. So then I went, well, we've got a transportation system that has just been improved in order, so that's a real disconnect that needs to be the communication through the SC about that, because we don't need to be creating more more services when we're trying to build the public transit service and get kids and people to use that service, particularly when they've made those changes in a positive manner. So that was my comment I had down.
I always wonder, and I was thinking out loud, I just wonder how, and I appreciate your point, I just wonder how does that carry on to, educational opportunities too that are presented by Selkirk College? Just a thought. Anything more on K?
No, but you know what, I forgot to say I wanted to speak to L.
Well, we're not there yet.
I know, but I don't think anybody picked it.
K, any more on K? L.
Okay, L, the bursary, I'm just curious, this is great that
Oh,
this
yeah.
young person is charging ahead in debate, and I'm just curious, did they apply for the bursary? Because the application that's there is just blank.
They weren't aware of the bursary program, so we have now made them aware of the bursary program.
Okay, so did they qualify for the bursary?
Yes, well, it's council decision if they want to. This is a little obscure because the bursary is usually for a recreation program, and
Yeah.
this is not a recreation program. That's why we're bringing it to council.
Okay.
And it'll come again, or is this what we're saying right now?
No, this is right now. If they
Okay.
do apply,
Right. Okay.
then we would give it.
Oh, okay, so the question is, if they apply, do we
Right.
approve it? Oh, okay, perfect, I
So,
misunderstood. So that was
What
my
is
question.
council's wish?
Oh, I think I'm in favor of it.
It says move it.
Oh, we don't have to move it, it's a recommendation in there already.
Recommendation is-
Is that what the recommendation was?
Yeah.
I didn't read it.
I'll speak to it, second.
So, we're good, anyway, so yeah, we're all
Yeah,
good.
okay.
So I just wanted to add that, you know, Madeline, you know, it's her grandparents that are actually raising her, and, you know, she's really excelled to be one, as it says, you know, of very few who have been chosen to go to this debate and competition, and it's an incredible opportunity for her. So it is an anomaly. I mean, it's not her parents that are raising her; it's her grandparents. I just wanted to let council know that.
No, I appreciate that. All right. And M, I'll have M just so everybody knows. You've got the letter here. That's the response to whatever the C sent, and I guess the crux of the thing is that they sent, the regional district sent a description, if you want to call it that, of what each municipality would be responsible for, and it really was a line on a map, and we basically asked for more specifics as to manhole numbers and what they are, so that they are something, I guess, tangible, not lines on a map.
It's in those pretty colors on that map, and our line is the longest, in case you all
ours
noticed.
is the shallowest, and it's not under any building.
And it's all gravity fed.
It's all gravity.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, while you're reading.
I am so glad to see this letter, because when I saw in the packet and the lack of detail in that thing, I was just like, oh my goodness, we can't be letting that go. So I really appreciate the letter. I think it's really good. The only thing I would say is that big, thick paragraph, I think you could probably break it into two, just so it's a little more readable. And the other thing I would add is, can we say something, we talk about, at the very last, it says, City provides a reasonably detailed description of the infrastructure, including the sizing, materials, general location. But could we also say, like, condition or age or something? 'Cause it doesn't say anything about the condition.
We've, through Public Works, we now have, we just got the report today.
Okay, good. So it has the condition?
The camera and what?
Darren asked for the conditions of the camera work that they did and everything, so we have that.
Okay, okay, then we don't. The only thing of putting condition in there,
But we have it.
the only thing is putting condition in there is just so it's on paper that we want to know the condition that we've asked for. But otherwise, it's great. I really appreciate it.
But we are there now.
Good.
In another vein. Councilor Walls.
No, I was just from the task force, we had a discussion about, specifically, direction from manholes in order to, and that has been added, and I was just checking that, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. On the motion, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Bylaws. 10A. Multiple family forming character guidelines to the planning department is a remover that council will give first reading for district community plan bylaw 2566, bylaw that updated development permit guidelines for all multiple family homes in Roslyn. Direct staff to hold a public meeting to review proposal. Proposed publication is moved by Moore, seconded by Thatcher. Discussion.
I think this is great. I really appreciate this. I think it's going to help our multifamily housing a lot. I had just two comments. One was I thought some of the language seemed fairly passive, you know, where you should or if feasible or consider, and I'm wondering if some places we could change it to be a little bit stronger language like must and will. Some places it is in
Reminds me of the zoning bylaw.
Yeah, I know, me too. But, you know, I mean, it's sort of like when you say something like where feasible, it's like who's the judge of feasibility? And like, what's the standard for that? So that's a question too.
There will be the design review committee that decides if it's feasible.
Okay, the design review committee will decide that. Okay.
I think too that, Councillor, if we move to getting public input on this, then we can, because we might hear more
Right.
info on that than we have right now. As
Okay.
to either the must and may and.
Yeah, I mean, some places it made a lot of sense to be kind of flexible, but some I thought, ooh, we could beef that up just a little bit. Then my other comment was it talks about roof materials of high contrast are inappropriate. So does that mean we're discouraging the red roofs of Roslyn? Because they are high contrast.
I guess that could be.
So I wasn't really in favor of that.
Sure.
Well, again, if we move this to the public hearing, public input.
That's true, but I'm
Yeah,
just, we've got some of the public right here, we've got councillors right here, that's, putting it out there. So, because I like the red roofs of Roslyn. Otherwise, I really think it's great, huge improvement.
Further?
Thank you.
I agree about the
Thatcher,
roofs. Sorry, oops, you were
No, I think,
seconder.
no, I think we should go to public consultation, and I don't think it'll affect the red roofs, because most of the red roofs are single-family dwellings, so this is for,
True, but you never know.
shouldn't affect the multifamilies.
Well, we can get rid of the roof on the church, that'd be
Well,
Councilor's
yeah.
turn.
No, I was just gonna comment on the roof, same thing, 'cause, you know, we are kind of an eclectic looking community, we don't wanna keep it, we don't wanna make it too sterile, like, we gotta have some fun.
Any further?
Funk factor, it's called.
On the motion, all in favor? All in favor? Opposed, the motion's carried. Doesn't matter how high you raise your hand.
I'm opposed, make, do, note it, please. Thank you.
Are you opposed?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, but you kinda have a conflict there.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, don't you have a conflict?
Conflicts matter.
I haven't built one multifamily dwelling, I have no conflict.
You have zoning for it, though.
She's in a different area with different guidelines too.
Okay, moving right along, with D, request for council decision, zoning bylaw amended, secondary suite size, and resolved the council right first and second reading of bylaw 2567. The public hearing for May 12th, moved by Wallace, seconded by Fisher. Discussion.
It makes sense.
Makes sense. Anything further? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Council decision, we're not, oh, we are doing that, financial plan with the.
Your worship, if you just
Yeah.
let,
Yeah.
our CFO
Yeah.
hand out, speak to what she changed on that Schedule A.
Yep.
Thank you.
Draft 8, nice. Draft 8.
Ms. Hunter, you have the floor. Thank you for all your efforts, and I know you've had a long day, so.
Yep. And so I just wanted to highlight some changes that have been made in Schedule A, after some advice with the, our regular year-end auditors. So just on the schedule, the actual numbers have not changed, it's just simply the look of it. So, before, I had the transport and public works and the internal equipment charges separated out as two separate items, where I've been advised to actually put them both together, so the numbers haven't changed, it's just been put together.
And what's it called now?
It's still the same, it's transportation and public works.
Sorry, okay.
So I have deleted
Yeah.
the line for collection for other governments, just in terms of, it was a blank line before, so it was just a case of just take that line out. And on the bottom section in the allocations, I previously had 2.85 million for internal debt, and that was actually an error on my part, and it's now been moved into debt proceeds. So those are the only changes that I've made. So the actual numbers themselves hasn't changed, it's just in terms of the summary sheet has just changed a little.
Great.
I just had a question on the property tax for Columbia, Washington, there, 2014-15 is 241, and 16-17 is 482.
So, yeah, that could be
Right
changed
here.
again. So, in terms of the 6.7 relates to
Oh, yeah.
2014. In terms of 5-year plan, I've put that we're gonna do Columbia, and I've just simply kind of said we're gonna finance a majority of it,
Double it.
via debt proceeds, because you'll see that in the 2016, and we'll also increase taxes to pay for that debt. It was just a,
Okay.
you know,
The doubling of that, of the
Exactly.
previous two though, right? So,
yeah.
the question is, why are we doubling in 2016, 17, and
Because
18?
in 2016, I'm saying we're gonna borrow another 4 million to pay for Columbia, Washington, yep, thank you.
Okay.
And the doubling of it is then paying
Yeah.
for the additional debt.
Yeah.
That's just an assumption, so I could kind of put a capital plan together. Obviously, we would be looking for some grants in there.
So that would include, projecting out to include Washington?
Yeah.
Right, okay, that makes sense, thank you.
Okay, anything further on that, baby? All right, is there a mover to the recommendation that council provide first, second, and third reading of bylaw 2568, Roslyn Financial Plan 1418?
I have an issue with doing all three readings at once.
Well, first of all, do we have a mover to that? And then you can speak to the reason for against the motion.
a mover for the original motion?
Yeah, first three readings, that's all I'm asking. Like, we don't.
Oh, I know we should do two.
Moved by Thatcher, is there a seconder?
Well, second to get on the table.
Thank you. Councillor Thatcher, anything to add?
No, I don't know.
Councillor Spear?
Well, I think that I'm gonna vote against it because I think we should only have first and second reading as well.
Well, where you seconded it? You could've got
Because
right
to
there.
get it on the table, that's,
No one seconded it, we can just move on.
that's all right.
Councillor.
You want to
I
talk?
appreciate the fact that Councillor Spearn seconded it, because I think that is good to have in case there had been some substantive discussion about it. But I actually agree that doing first three readings, particularly for a financial plan, we should have a little bit of time between a little sober second thought,
Mhm.
as we've been taught. So I will also vote against it.
Any further? On the motion for three readings, all in favor? Opposed?
I'll
Can I
make-
do it again, all in favor?
Oh, all in favor of this? Oh.
Three readings.
Three readings.
Nobody put their hand up.
Nobody
Oh.
out there.
Well, opposed, watch this. Thank you.
He put his
Motion.
hand up.
My hand was
Yeah, but
up.
if you don't put your hand up, then you're in favor of
I
it.
know.
That's why you're checking.
Failed. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
All right,
I'll make a motion.
Thank
We
you.
do first and second reading.
all right, second.
I'll second.
Wallace. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Ms. Mother?
Your worship, does council have, an issue with us having third reading, at a special meeting on April the 22nd in order to get this adopted for?
That's the date we talked about earlier?
Yes.
Everybody happy
So we
with that?
would make that a special meeting instead of just a.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're good. We don't need a motion to that, do we? No. No, okay. Moving right along, D, request for council decision, the OCP amendment, Schedule D, transportation.
Could I ask one quick thing? Can we get an electronic copy of this, the updated one? 'Cause it's,
What? You updated?
well, this updated
Oh.
one, because I'm gonna have the old one in there and it'll confuse me. Thank you.
No, you'll be okay. What's the question?
Well, I'm unsure of why there's a need for a special meeting for, this is May 15th that it needs to be finalized by. So we have the 28th and then there's the 12th, isn't that right?
We're already meeting on the 22nd.
We have a,
We're in meeting.
I'm just curious as to why there's a need for.
well, we could do it at the meeting, so that there's a meeting. So, yeah,
So that we can get it done and get moving.
I mean, there are more than two things happening at the same
No.
time.
It just seemed we could meet the deadline with just regular meetings, that's all it
Well,
is.
we'll make sure.
Because
we
we
meet
already
deadline
have a
in
meeting,
case
though.
somebody-
We're already
all right,
meeting on
all
the
right, all right.
22nd, right?
We're gonna do it that day, there you go. Bishop Community Plan Amendment, resolved the council gives third reading to the OCP amendment bylaw 2564, 2014-1, a bylaw to remove the proposed collector road from Schedule D transportation plan. Moved by
So moved.
Spear, seconded by Fisher. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Resolved that council adopt the OCP plan amendment bylaw 2564, 2014-1, a bylaw to remove proposed collector road from Schedule D. Moved by Fisher, seconded by Spear. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Another trail for Roslyn.
What was that?
Another
No
trail
more
for
trails.
Roslyn.
Fix the ones we got. Members' reports, Councilor Spear, we'll start with you.
No, I don't have much, because I've been
Thanks, ladies.
Thank you, ladies.
Good night.
So this is actually a question for Darren, but I just wonder, and it has to do with Jubilee Park, and I'm just wondering if staff could perhaps, through my council report, pass this on. I'm just curious about the new play apparatus that's supposed to be installed at Jubilee Park, and I just wanted to make sure that there was conversation about kind of the situating of that, in other words, the site, before that. Do you know anything about it? You know nothing about it? Does Darren know anything about it? Oh, I think he does. Anyway, could you just mention to talk to Councillor Spearn about the play apparatus?
What, I don't know what you're talking about.
The new play apparatus that's going to be installed up at RSS. There will be a primary play apparatus. So the city will be involved because we own Jubilee Park, if you remember. And
if I remember.
it's
Yeah,
it's
anyway.
about the situating of that, so.
Have they taken out the, one that broke my daughter's leg?
Is that the newest one?
Yeah.
Like the intermediate one? No, this is gonna be a primary one, no.
Oh.
The one that broke your daughter's leg. I'd like to say your daughter probably broke her leg.
Broke her own leg.
Anyway, okay, what else do I have? I did not make it to the Sustainability Commission meeting because I had a family issue I had to deal with, so I apologize, but I did email Terry and tell him I wouldn't, and told him I wouldn't be present, so I'll catch up on the minutes. Burning bylaw, I've had a few phone calls at home about burning. I know there are certain situations where permits, are in effect right now, and that's of course the good thing, the right thing. But I'm just wondering if staff somehow needs to remind through the next, I don't know, too bad we didn't put on the spring cleanup newsletter about the burning bylaw, because there are people that don't remember.
Your worship, unfortunately, we didn't have our bylaw enforcement officer last week when people started burning, but we have been out in full force today.
Thank you very much.
And I think word is spreading fast.
Thank you, because yesterday apparently was a big, anyway, big burning day in Rawson.
You can always call the fire department. They will back us up.
Oh, okay, thank you, all right, great.
Actually, that's a good point, if someone were to phone you, say phone.
Yeah, that is a good point, thank you.
And then the boys will come up in the ladder truck and
Don't go there.
That's good use of taxpayers' money.
Anyway.
Okay, the logo, Shelley and I are, I don't know, we're back and forth like ping pong, ball right now, but I will get on it now that I've been home for, a little bit of time and find out where we're going. Have you heard anything from her? No. Since she broke her leg, she's a little bit behind the 8 ball, so to speak, so we'll get on that logo. I just want to acknowledge the, on behalf of council, on behalf of myself as part of council, the tragedy in Trail, that occurred, a week ago, with the loss of one of the young lads and the other 2 in critical condition, and, I think it's important that we, as a community, send our condolences and, our thoughts and prayers to the families of those kids, because it not only impacts the kids and their families, but it impacts all of the communities, because we are so tightly woven and all of our kids spend so much time together, so that's a real sad one. I think that's all I have.
Okay, I'm gonna go across the table, Council Moore.
Okay, I was interested to know about the Lucky Looney. Have we gotten the Lucky Looney that, with
Yes.
Kimberly joined?
Yes, we have.
Because I was hoping maybe we could invite her in, maybe in front of our next council meeting and have a honor. You're gonna talk about that?
Well, let's talk about it right now, because then I won't forget. But we do have the Lucky Looney thing. Actually, we can get it, we'll show it after the meeting, maybe we'll see.
Yeah.
I've been approached by a couple members of staff, a couple members of the public, saying, what should we do for Kimberly? And my suggestion was that we get a hold of Kimberly first of all, and see what she wishes to do, and I will do that.
Okay.
Say that we'd like to do something,
Mhm.
I don't know what, and just see how receptive she is to that before we start the ball rolling with
Mhm.
anything. And I'll do that in the next couple of days.
Okay.
So when we can get somebody together, and,
I think, that's what I was thinking. I think something with a photograph and get it to the press
Or-
and that kind of thing would
yeah.
be really nice. So,
or
'cause
perhaps
it's-
there's some members of the community that wanna do something a little bit more grandiose.
Mhm.
We'll leave it to them, but first step is to see if she's
Okay.
receptive to anything.
Okay, that's great.
And can I just interject? I know I had a call to go down and do a presentation for Kimberly.
Yeah.
But of course I was working and
I
you guys
know.
were all out of town and no one was available, so,
Aw, what
I think
was
it's
that?
important that we do acknowledge her successes. It was a trail that the CIBC.
Yeah,
You guys were all away, so, and I was at work, so, and it was really short notice.
yeah, well, she emailed me on.
It was like the day
I was
before.
there or something.
Yeah,
And
so.
Dieter didn't know anything about it either.
Right.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So anyway, be appropriate.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll leave that one there.
Okay, so, like others here, I'd gone to AKBLG, and there were some interesting ideas that came out. I sent my notes around, hopefully anyone who's interested to read them. I thought Don Lidstone's, presentation about creative revenue generation was particularly interesting, and my notes have quite a bit on that. And I was thinking maybe we could have a discussion, maybe staff staff could think about it, and we could have a discussion about how we might be able to incorporate some of those ideas in the way we deal with raising money for the municipality, because we sure need money. And I was thinking maybe Councillor Wallace could think about some of those ideas with the liquid waste, treatment plant, and maybe we could get some of those ideas with a task force. You might be able to have some ideas about that, so it's not just all taxpayer money. There might be some ideas that he talked about would be good. The water smart presentation was really good, and it reminded me of the need for ongoing analysis and planning. Like, we haven't heard anything about our water smart efforts lately. I understand that the water smart team is doing staff meetings in each community, and I'm wondering, have they...
They're coming here for the second meeting in May, I believe.
Okay, they're coming to council? Oh, okay,
Delegation.
council. Okay, that's great.
We have a conference call with them tomorrow about our RFQ or RFP that's going on.
Okay. Okay, because I was really interested, like, this is, Sparwood, for instance, they are also universally metered, and I was talking with one of their counselors, and they do quite a bit with their metered, with the analysis of their metered, of their water meters. And they compare, I guess they compare their metered use with their source metered use, and then they can tell about where leakage is happening and that kind of thing. And I'm just wondering what we do with ours. Do we do anything with it?
We have that data.
But do we do anything with it?
Well, yeah. That's an operational thing.
Yeah, that's why we're looking at the I&I and
Yeah.
where we're at with all that.
So do you get like regular reports about that kind? I'm just thinking it's sort of like, you don't plan for things, it's sort of, we don't hear about it, right? We don't hear, so I'm just curious.
I believe the manager of operations gives monthly reports on.
Okay.
On water usage, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's just, we don't hear about it, so I'm just
Well,
curious.
we
That's why
wanna
I'm
hear
asking
the
the
water
question.
We get the water reports.
Well, we get the annual
Yeah.
one, but I'm just thinking more like, well, okay, they've got, you know, they're finding out these problems and then addressing them, and I'm just thinking, you know, if we've got whatever, I don't even know what our leakage rate is. One of the things they said at this session is that it's really important for council to understand what the data is and what it's telling you, and that then that way you're enabled to make your plans and put stuff in your budget if you need to or something. It's just more information so that you can, you know, be responsible. And then the other thing that they talked about, I thought, and this came up a couple times, was a very interesting point made about strategizing and prioritizing resolutions sent to the province, and perhaps that if each area group sent less, that we'd have more impact, because the province kind of blows us off when we send 287 resolutions. And I thought that was really an interesting point that we should all think about. And they also talked a lot about the need to emphasize the strong fiscal futures document, which had been approved at the UBCM last fall, and that empowers and funds municipalities. And I know UBCM is working on it, but I wondered if it might be good if we, as an individual municipality, approached our local MLA to sort of add oomph to that it's something that's important to us. I don't know if you guys have read it. I actually did read it a number of months ago. I can't remember it now, but it was really great. And that's it.
Thank you. Councilor Fisher.
Could I interject? I just forgot one little thing about pitch-ins. I just wanted to ask.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask, normally we do pitch-in and spring cleanup, and I know it's spring cleanup time. That was around why I had my burning thing to note down. So I'm just wondering where we're kind of going as a city with this, and I know I was asked at school if we're going to do pitch-in, cleanup, and all that. So Councillor Moore and I have usually kind of instigated that or whatever, so I'm just not sure where operations is at with it. I know we don't have the bags, but we could just get regular bags.
If someone were to instigate it, I'm sure Public Works would figure out a way to...
So do we want to keep continuing?
Why don't we talk about
May?
it? We can, I mean, unless somebody else wants to.
No, I think we should talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've already done mine now, but
You've already what?
No.
Well, I mean, spring is sprung. Last year it was late, right? So depending on what the season is, of course.
Yeah.
Anyway, why don't you guys talk about that?
Yeah, maybe we could talk about mayor. I don't know. Do the community thing a little bit, profile that.
Okay, well, Councilor Patrick.
The last museum meeting, there was some discussion on, like, I think we've already had a talk with staff about receiving the installments, city installments every 2 months, just to ease the burden of the slow months during the winter. They have a talk with you, Tracy, about that?
Yes, and we gave them a few suggestions too, so yes, we are.
Okay. Yeah, they're starting to develop a mountain bike exhibit up there. There's a couple of events coming up. There's the Museum Family Days, May 21st, and there's an Easter egg hunt this Sunday at 11 o'clock if you want to look for some eggs. And that final report from Donald Luxton is going to be at the open house at the museum this Thursday, 5 to 7:30. Thursday. Yeah, Wednesday. Wednesday.
Is that the one that we've seen?
This is the final report.
Oh, okay.
April 16th, whether it was
Yeah.
Thursday or Wednesday.
That's Wednesday. Today's 14th.
5 to 7:30.
You better get the date right, but.
I had the date right, I couldn't remember the date.
Oh, sorry.
That's about it.
Okay, yes, I attended the AKBLG last week as well, and I also attended the seminar with, Mr. Lidstone, well-recognized, municipal lawyer in the province. He did have quite a discussion about, innovative, revenue generation opportunities for municipalities. I spoke with, Chairman Gregor of the Regional District afterwards. She also attended it. She was also quite enthusiastic about it. And she's considering possibly seeing if there is a potential for the Regional District to bring him in. And I said, if that were the situation, make sure that the municipalities, all of the municipal councils have an opportunity to attend as well. You know, he went through a lot of material and very quickly, and some of it is quite in-depth. But you know, well worth council's understanding more about for sure. The other thing about the number of resolutions, yes, that was certainly a matter of discussion, and Christina Benty is mayor of Golden. There we go. I was going to say Kimberley, that's not right, close. She's the new president of the AKBLG. I spoke with her and she said absolutely, they'll be working on that this year and trying to determine some process, whether it's to suggest to each area that they only maybe focus and send 2 strong resolutions rather than, it almost seems like some municipalities take it as a competition to see how many resolutions they can get on the floor. So that's coming. I also attended a different workshop by CBT, not the Water Smart, but at the same time they had one regarding the considerable increase in revenue that the CBT will be receiving in the next short term. And they really need, well, they're beginning a public consultation at this point to determine, you know, how those funds can be used beneficially for the communities. And again, in that conversation, there was a considerable amount of discussion about municipalities needing some other form of revenue generation other than property taxation, and what the CBT could do to support that. And it's really important, this little tidbit I thought was really important, because I have long believed that the CBT has some legal impediment to not providing those funds to a service or something that is the direct responsibility of municipality. During that conversation, it came out that that has been policy of the CBT, but there is no legal obligation there. There's nothing in writing saying that they cannot. So it's, I mean, we're talking about considerable increase in their revenue coming up in the next few years. Huge. And
be worthwhile for municipalities to come up with projects or for communities, right? Like to start really thinking about big sustainable projects, because it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but
yeah, but that is the other thing for, I mean, and I know our poor little communities gets pretty busy and short staffed. I mean, we've had more than enough going on. But at some point, if this community can come up with some sort of an idea for a revenue generation project, I think CBT would be willing to look at it, absolutely. Anyway, meetings coming up. I have an East End Services meeting tomorrow. I have a policy executive personnel, as well as environmental services and the solid waste management steering committee on Wednesday. And then, okay, this is a message I'd rather not have to deliver, but I do. This is a letter for all of you, and I will read it to you. Dear Mayor Granstrom, members of council, city staff, and community members, This is in regard to resignation of city councillor position. This letter provides notification of my decision to resign my elected position with the City of Rossland. Personal decisions are taking me out of province to a remote location without access to telephone and internet communication for an extended period of time. Given the approximate 6 months remaining in this council term, the alternative option to request a leave of absence does not seem warranted. Further, the proximity to the next local government election avoids the requirement of a by-election to fill the vacant seat. I intend to fulfill my role for the remainder of April. The April meeting of the Board of Directors for the RDKB is scheduled for May 1st, and this notice therefore applies for May 2nd, 2014. I sincerely appreciate the opportunity provided me by the Rossland electorate over the past 5.5 years. I have applied myself to my appointed roles conscientiously and to the best of my ability, and I hope that my contributions have benefited the community. So with great respect for the community of Rossland and the greater region of the Kootenay boundary. And that is for you, Mr. Mayor, and I will be sending that by email to the Board of Directors of the Kootenay boundary when I get it.
Thank you very much, and good luck in all your future endeavors, and we'll all get together and have a pint or two before you leave.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. On to me, and I don't want to be, it's easier. I'll be attending the Mayor's Caucus next week, the 23rd-ish, I think it is. Oh yeah, at 20, I'm good. I don't know the policy, so, and I could have looked it up, but I didn't, on half-masting the flag, because tomorrow, or Wednesday's a state funeral for
Jim Flaherty.
Minister Jim Flaherty. It's a state funeral, so that if half-masting fits into our policy, I'd like to see the flag half-masting, please. Regional District Rep, as Councillor Wallace has stated, she will not be with us after May 2nd, and that is going to require some thought as to how we can fill the Regional District position. As you're all aware, I sit as alternate right now, and I will definitely need someone to somehow at least assist, because quite frankly, I will not be able to do it otherwise. So that will be for considerations in the next short term, and I would suggest anyone that is planning on running for office next term give it serious consideration. Therefore, we would have continuity into the next council, and I'll be asking for volunteers, I guess, very shortly, but not tonight. It is 15 minutes after 9. Wonderful job, everybody. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Feel free to grab some before you walk out the door.
I'm tomorrow.
That didn't work out well.
What didn't work out? Oh.
Thanks, guys. We'll do something.